She wakes up every morning at 6:15, no alarm. She makes her own breakfast, tends her small garden, and walks to the mailbox and back before most of her neighbors have even had their first cup of coffee. She is 94 years old. She lives completely alone. And her doctor told her last year that her blood work looked like someone in their 60s. Her name is Eleanor. And when she told me what she does every single morning, 5 simple things, done in a specific order, I stopped what I was doing and wrote every word down. Because what she shared with me is not complicated. It is not expensive. You do not need a gym membership or a fancy app or a personal trainer. You just need about 45 minutes and the willingness to try. Today, I am going to share all 5 of those habits with you, and I am going to show you exactly how to make each one work in your own life, starting tomorrow morning. My name is Grace Wong. I am 81 years old, and I still live by myself in the same house I have lived in for over 30 years. I know what it means to want to stay independent. I know what it means to worry just a little about whether your body is going to keep cooperating with the life you want to live. And I know how good it feels when you find something small and doable that actually makes a difference. That is what today's video is. Small things, done consistently, that add up to something truly remarkable. Stick with me, because near the end of this video, I am going to share the one habit on Eleanor's list that most people over 70 skip entirely. And it might just be the most important one of all. I think it is going to surprise you. Now, before we get into Eleanor's 5 habits, I want to say one thing clearly. Please talk to your doctor before you start any new morning routine, especially if you have a heart condition, diabetes, arthritis, or any other health concern. Everything I share today is gentle and low risk, but you know your body best. Always listen to what it tells you. If something hurts, stop. There is no medal for pushing through pain. The goal here is a long, comfortable, independent life, not a trophy. All right, let's talk about Eleanor. How I met Eleanor. I met Eleanor about 3 years ago at a community luncheon that my neighbor Dorothy dragged me to. I say dragged, but honestly, I'm glad she did. It was one of those events at the local senior center, and the room was full of wonderful people. Eleanor was sitting at a table by the window. She was tiny, maybe 5 feet tall if she stretched, with white hair pinned up neatly and the most alert eyes I had ever seen on a person of any age. She was not hunched over. She was not leaning on anything. She was sitting straight as a schoolteacher, eating her soup and laughing at something her neighbor had just said. I thought she was maybe 75, 78 at the most. I sat down next to her and we started talking. And within about 10 minutes, I found out she was 91 at the time. I nearly knocked over my iced tea. I said, "Eleanor, I have to ask, what is your secret?" And she laughed and said, "Grace, it is not a secret at all. People just don't want to hear that it's boring." I told her I was very fond of boring, and she told me about her mornings. Over the next 2 years, we became genuine friends. She walked me through each habit in detail. She explained the why behind every single one, and she is still doing all 5 of them today at 94, in her own home, on her own terms. So let's honor that by paying close attention. Habit 1, she gets up at the same time, every single day. The first thing Eleanor told me was this: I get up at 6:15 every morning, not 6:30 on weekends, not 7 when I feel tired. 6:15 every day, rain or shine, holiday or not. I asked her if that ever felt rigid. She shook her head. "It doesn't feel rigid," she said. "It feels like an anchor. It's the thing that holds the whole day in place." And she's right, even if she did not use the scientific term for it. Here is what is happening inside your body when you wake up at the same time every day. Your body runs on what doctors call a circadian rhythm. Think of it as your body's internal clock. Every cell in your body, your heart, your brain, your digestive system, your immune system, is synchronized to this clock. When you wake up at the same time every day, you are keeping that clock accurate and running smoothly. When the clock runs smoothly, your body releases hormones at the right times. Cortisol, which is your natural wake-up and energy hormone, peaks in the morning right when you need it. Melatonin, which helps you sleep, builds up at night right when you want it. Your digestion knows when to expect food. Your brain knows when to expect alertness. When you sleep in on some days and wake up early on others, it's a little like constantly resetting that clock. Your body never quite knows what to expect. And for older adults especially, a disrupted internal clock has been linked to poor sleep quality, higher blood pressure, lower energy, and even increased risk of falling, because fatigue affects your balance and reaction time. Eleanor 615 is not about discipline for the sake of discipline. It is about giving her body the consistency it needs to function well. Now, you do not have to choose 6:15. You get to pick the time that suits your life. But once you pick it, stick to it as much as you possibly can, even on weekends, even when you don't have anywhere to be. Here is how to start. Tonight, decide on your wake-up time. Write it down on a piece of paper and put it on your nightstand. Tomorrow morning, when that time comes, get up. Do not lie there scrolling or snoozing. Sit up slowly, put your feet on the floor, and take 3 slow, deep breaths before you stand. That is it. That is the whole first habit. Getting up at the same time every day is one of the most powerful things you can do for your long-term health, and it costs absolutely nothing. You can absolutely do this. There is nothing complicated about it. It just takes a decision. And once you're up and steady on your feet, Eleanor says the very next thing she does changed her balance more than anything else. That's habit 2, coming right up. Habit 2, 5 minutes of gentle movement before she does anything else. Before Eleanor puts the kettle on, before she checks the weather, before she does a single thing, she spends 5 minutes moving her body gently right there in her bedroom. She calls it her warm-up for the day. She says it like the day is a machine and she is getting it ready to run. Here is why this matters so much, and I want you to really hear this part. When you are asleep, your body is still. Your muscles cool down. The fluid in your joints settles and thickens slightly. When you wake up and go straight from lying down to walking to the kitchen, you are asking a stiff, cold body to just start performing. That is when slips happen. That is when a knee gives out unexpectedly. That is when the dizzy spell hits on the way to the bathroom. Gentle morning movement warms up your muscles, lubricates your joints, gets blood flowing to your brain, and tells your nervous system, the system that controls your balance and the coordination, that it is time to be alert. For older adults, this is not optional. This is protective. Eleanor does 3 things, and they take about 5 minutes total. First, ankle circles. She sits on the edge of her bed, both feet flat on the floor, and she slowly lifts one foot and then rotates her ankle in a circle, 5 times one direction, 5 times the other. Then she does the same on the other side. This wakes up the ankles, which are among the most important joints for balance. Second, seated marching. Still sitting on the bed, she lifts one knee up toward her chest, lowers it, then lifts the other. She does this slowly, like she is marching in slow motion, for about 30 seconds. This gets the hip flexors, the muscles at the front of your hips, moving, and those muscles are crucial for walking steadily. Third, gentle neck rolls. She lets her chin drop toward her chest, then slowly rolls her head to the right, holds for a moment, rolls it back to center, then to the left. She does not do full circles. She just goes side to side. This releases tension in the neck and upper back and helps blood flow to the brain. That is it. 5 minutes. Sitting on the edge of your bed. Let's pause for just a moment. Right now, if you are sitting somewhere, try the ankle circles. Just lift one foot. Rotate it 5 times to the right, 5 times to the left. Feel that? That gentle warmth in your ankle? That is your body waking up properly. Eleanor says she never used to do this. She would jump out of bed. She was a busy woman. She had things to do. And then, one morning in her late 80s, she stood up too fast, and the room spun, and she grabbed the dresser to catch herself. Nothing broke. She was fine, but it scared her. And she never skipped her warm-up again after that. Remember, check with your doctor about any movements that might not be appropriate for your specific situation. If any of these cause pain or discomfort, simply skip them. The goal is gentle, easy movement, not strain. Now, here is something Eleanor told me about habit 3 that I think about almost every day. She said it is the habit that keeps her mind as sharp as her body. And I think you are going to find this one very encouraging. Habit 3, a real breakfast with protein, eaten sitting down. Eleanor eats breakfast every morning. Not a handful of crackers, not just coffee, a real proper breakfast. And she always includes protein. I want to talk about why this matters so much for people our age, because most of us were not taught this. As we get older, and this starts in our 50s and accelerates as we move through our 70s and 80s, our bodies become less efficient at building and maintaining muscle. Doctors call this sarcopenia, which is just a Greek-rooted word that means the natural loss of muscle that comes with aging. You do not have to do anything wrong for it to happen. It happens to everyone. The reason it matters so much is that muscle is not just about strength. Muscle is about balance, about your ability to catch yourself if you trip, about your metabolism, about keeping your blood sugar stable, about your immune function, and even about your mood. And the single most important dietary tool we have for slowing muscle loss is protein, specifically getting enough protein in the morning, because research suggests that our bodies may use morning protein more effectively for muscle maintenance than the protein eaten later in the day. Eleanor has 2 scrambled eggs. Some mornings she adds a small piece of whole grain toast. Some mornings she has a few slices of smoked salmon, which she loves. On days when she does not feel very hungry, she has plain Greek yogurt with a little honey. Every single one of those options is a solid protein source. You do not need to count grams or track anything. Just ask yourself one simple question when you sit down for breakfast. Is there a good protein source on this plate? Eggs, yogurt, cottage cheese, nut butter on toast, a small portion of leftover chicken or fish, a glass of milk. Any of these count. Now, here is the second part of this habit that I think is just as important. Eleanor eats sitting down at her kitchen table without the television on. She takes about 15 to 20 minutes for breakfast. She is present. She is not rushing. This is not just about digestion, although eating slowly and sitting upright does absolutely help your digestion. This is about starting the day with intention. It is about saying to yourself, I matter enough to sit down for a meal. My morning is worth 15 minutes of my attention. For many people living alone, breakfast is the one meal where it is easiest to eat standing over the sink or skip entirely. Eleanor told me she made a rule for herself years ago. Her body had carried her for 90 years, and the least she could do was feed it properly. I found that very moving, and I have not eaten standing over the sink since she said it. A gentle note: if you have any dietary restrictions, blood sugar concerns, or have been told by your doctor to follow a specific eating plan, always follow that guidance first. This is general advice, and your individual needs come first. After breakfast, Eleanor does something that most people I know are not doing, and I genuinely believe it is one of the reasons her mind stays so sharp. Let's go to habit 4. A quick word before we move on. We are about halfway through today's video, and I want to ask you something. If any of this is resonating with you, if you are watching this and thinking, I could actually do some of this, would you do me a small favor? Click that subscribe button right below this video. I post a new video every week with honest, practical advice for living well as we age. No hype, no products. Just the real conversations like this one. And in the comments, I would love to know, Which of these first 3 habits is one you could start tomorrow morning? Just type the number 1, 2, or 3. I read every single comment, and your answer might inspire someone else watching. All right, habit 4. This is the one Eleanor laughed about when she told me, because she said she found it embarrassing to admit how much it helped. I think you're going to feel the same way. Habit 4. She spends 10 minutes outside. Every morning after breakfast, Eleanor puts on her shoes, opens her back door, and goes outside. She does not go far. Her backyard is small. Some mornings she walks around the perimeter twice and comes back inside. Some mornings she sits in a chair on her porch and simply looks at her garden. Some mornings she deadheads a few flowers or pulls a weed or two. 10 minutes outside every morning. She told me she felt slightly foolish including this on the list because it seemed too obvious to matter, but her doctor had told her it might be one of the most important things she does all day. And here is why. When early morning light, and I mean actual outdoor light, even through clouds, enters your eyes, it sends a signal to a tiny part of your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. That is a mouthful, so let's just call it the body clock center. This signal tells your body clock exactly what time it is and what time it is going to be. It synchronizes everything: your energy levels, your mood, your ability to fall asleep that night, your hormone cycles. Looking at a screen does not do this. A bright indoor light does not do this. Only actual outdoor light, even on an overcast day, contains the right spectrum of light at the right intensity to do this job properly. For older adults, this matters for another reason too. Morning light exposure helps the body understand when to produce melatonin at night, which means you fall asleep more easily and sleep more deeply. And we all know how precious good sleep is as we get older. There is also the vitamin D connection, though I want to be careful here. The sun does help your body produce vitamin D, which is essential for bone strength and immune function. But the amount varies enormously depending on where you live, the season, the time of day, and your skin. So please do not rely on 10 minutes of morning sun as your only vitamin D strategy. Talk to your doctor about your levels and whether a supplement might be right for you. But beyond the biology, being outside is simply good for the soul. Eleanor told me that her 10 minutes in the garden is the time of day when she feels most like herself. She is not anyone's grandmother or patient or neighbor in those 10 minutes. She is just a woman who loves roses, standing in her yard in the morning light. And she says that feeling of being present and peaceful and alive sets the tone for the rest of her day in a way that nothing else quite does. If you cannot get outside safely on your own, opening a window and sitting near it is a real meaningful alternative. Letting that fresh air and morning light reach you is still beneficial. Please never put yourself at risk of a fall to get outside. Your safety comes first, always. Now, the 5th habit. This is the one I told you about at the very beginning, the one that surprised me, the one that Eleanor was almost shy about sharing, and I think it might be the most important one of all. Habit 5. She talks to someone every single morning. Every single morning before 9 a.m., Eleanor makes or receives a phone call or a short visit from another person. Some mornings it is her daughter, who lives 40 minutes away and calls while driving to work. Some mornings it is her next-door neighbor, who was in the habit of dropping off vegetables from her garden and eventually just made it a standing morning check-in. Some mornings it is a woman from her church who is also in her 90s and who Eleanor says is sharper than a tack and funnier than anyone I know. The call does not have to be long. It does not have to cover anything important. Eleanor says some of her favorite calls are 5 minutes and mostly about the weather. The point is the connection. I want to share something with you that I think is one of the most important and the most underreported health facts of our time. Loneliness and social isolation are genuinely harmful to physical health, not just mental health, physical health. Studies have found that chronic loneliness is associated with higher rates of heart disease, stroke, cognitive decline, which means memory and thinking problems, a weakened immune system, and a significantly shorter lifespan. Some researchers have compared the health impact of chronic loneliness to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. I know that number sounds dramatic, but it reflects the genuine, measurable effect that human connection, or the lack of it, has on our biology. When we feel connected to other people, our nervous systems relax. Our inflammatory responses calm down. Our immune systems work better. Our brains stay more active. Our sense of purpose, which is deeply tied to longevity, stays alive. And here is what I want you to hear very clearly. This is not a character flaw or a weakness. Loneliness is not something to be embarrassed about or to push through. It is a biological signal, like hunger or thirst, telling you that you need something your body and brain require to function well. Eleanor said she does not always feel like calling someone in the morning. Some days she feels perfectly content on her own. But she made a commitment to herself years ago that she would reach out every morning regardless, because she had watched several people she loved withdraw into isolation and decline in ways that she believed were connected. So she picked up the phone, not because she needed something, but because the habit of connection, like the habit of breakfast and movement, is a form of care she gives herself daily. Now, I know this habit can feel like the hardest one, depending on your situation. If your world has gotten smaller, if you have lost friends and a partner, if your family is far away, if getting out is difficult, the idea of guaranteed daily connection might feel out of reach. So let me offer a few practical starting points. If you have a family member you are already in contact with a few times a week, ask them if they would be willing to make it a daily morning check-in, just 5 minutes. A lot of family members say yes immediately when it is framed that simply. If you have a neighbor you are friendly with, consider proposing a standing wave, just being outside at the same time, acknowledging each other. For some people, that small, visible presence is enough. If you are part of a church, community group, or senior center, look for people who might also benefit from a morning call exchange. It is remarkably common that two people who both need this are both too shy to ask. And if technology is available to you and you are comfortable with it, even a short message, a text, a voice message, a few words, can carry a surprising amount of warmth. The goal is not lengthy conversation. The goal is a daily signal that says, I am here, you are here, we see each other. Eleanor told me that the morning she most remembers is one when her daughter called at 6:45 and said she was just checking in on her way to drop the grandchildren at school. And in the background, Eleanor could hear a 9-year-old asking if great-grandma was okay. And Eleanor said out loud to her daughter, tell her great-grandma is wonderful. And it meant every word. That is what this habit protects. Not just a heartbeat or a blood pressure number, a life. A real, full, connected life. The thing I teased at the beginning. And why it matters so much. I told you early on that there is one habit that most people over 70 skip entirely, and I imagine some of you are nodding right now because you recognized yourself in what I just described. The habit of daily human connection is the one Eleanor almost left off her list because she thought it would seem too simple, too obvious, not scientific enough. She thought people would want to hear about a supplement or an exercise regimen, but it is the one she said she would choose if she could only keep one, because it is the one that gives meaning to all the others. Without it, she told me, getting up at 6:15 would feel like just another obligation. But when she knows that at 7:30 her neighbor's going to wave to her from the garden, or at 8 her daughter will call, the morning has a shape. It has warmth. It has reason. And that, she said quietly, is what keeps a person going. Let's bring it all together. Let me quickly recap the 5 morning habits that Eleanor, 94 years old, living alone, healthy as a woman half her age, does every single day. Habit 1. She wakes up at the same time every morning. Same time every day to keep her body clock accurate and her energy steady. Habit 2. Before she does anything else, she spends 5 minutes doing gentle movement on the edge of her bed. Ankle circles, seated marching, gentle neck rolls. 5 minutes that warm up her body and protect her balance. Habit 3. She eats a real breakfast with protein, sitting down without rushing. She treats feeding her body as a priority, not an afterthought. Habit 4. She spends 10 minutes outside in the morning light. Good for her internal clock, her sleep, her mood, and her soul. Habit 5. She connects with another person every single morning, not because she has to, because she knows that connection is as essential as food and sleep. None of these habits require money. None of them require a perfect body or perfect health. All of them can be adapted to fit where you are right now. Your challenge for this week. I want to invite you to pick just one of these 5 habits, the one that feels most doable, and try it tomorrow morning. Just one. For 1 week. Write it down tonight. Put it somewhere you will see it in the morning. And then, when morning comes, do that one small thing. If you are already doing some of these, wonderful. You are ahead of the curve. Maybe this week you deepen one of them or add one you have been skipping. And please tell me in the comments which one you are going to try. I am genuinely curious. I read every comment and I respond to as many as I can. If you found today's video helpful, sharing it with someone you care about, a friend, a sibling, an adult child who might share it with their own parent, is one of the kindest things you can do. Someone watching this might start a morning habit tomorrow that changes their life. You never know. Before I go, I want to say something directly to you. If you are watching this video, it means you are paying attention to your health. It means you care about staying independent and capable and connected. That is not a small thing. A lot of people give up on themselves quietly without making any fuss. You have not done that. Eleanor has not done that either. At 94, she told me that the morning is her favorite part of the day. She gets up, she moves, she eats, she steps outside, she connects, and then the day is hers. That sense of agency, of ownership over her own morning, is something she guards fiercely. You can have that too, not in spite of your age. Because of everything your age has given you, the patience to be consistent, the wisdom to know what matters, and the understanding that a good life is built one ordinary morning at a time. Take good care of yourself. You deserve to feel well. Next week, I am going to share something that my own doctor told me at my last checkup that I was not expecting to hear. It is about the one thing most women my age do not do enough of. And no, it is not what you might think. It has nothing to do with exercise or diet. It is something we tend to feel guilty about. And it turns out our doctors wish we would do it more. That video will be up next week. I hope to see you there. Until then, good morning, whatever time your morning is.